Before we jump into today's episode, I want to take a moment to say this. Safety isn't about checklists, policies, or paperwork. It's about people. Welcome to Safety on Purpose, the podcast where we challenge traditional safety thinking and explore what it really takes to protect people, build trust, and lead with intention. I'm your host, Joe Garcia, and each episode we dive into real conversations about leadership, culture, human behavior, and the moments that shape how work actually gets done. If you believe safety should be human-centered, practical, and purpose-driven, you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Now let's get into today's conversation. Let's start with a statement that might make some people a little uncomfortable. If you're still having the same incidents after delivering the same training, the problem probably isn't the employees weren't paying attention. It's that the training didn't change anything. And that's extremely hard to admit because in safety, training is often our first response. Incident, let's retrain. Near miss, toolbox talk. Audit finding, refresher course. New equipment, training sign-in sheet. And here's the question we don't ask often enough. If training wasn't the solution, why are we still here? Today, we're talking about what to do when training just isn't working. Not when it's inconvenient, not when attendance is low, but when you delivered it, documented it, tested it, and behavior still hasn't changed. There's a phrase I hear consistently. Well, we trained them. That statement is usually meant as proof of due diligence. And from a compliance standpoint, documentation does matter. Regulatory bodies like OSHA require training under multiple standards, but compliance and effectiveness are still not the same thing. Training proves exposure to information. It does not prove understanding, it does not prove retention, and it does not prove behavior change. If someone sits through a PowerPoint for 45 minutes and signs a sheet, that is attendance. It's not transformation. And the more we confuse these two things, the more frustrated we become when incidents continue. So if training isn't changing behavior, the first thing we need to examine is this. Was it designed to? Information does not equal behavior. Let's break something down. Most safety training is information heavy. Policies, procedures, definitions, standards, consequences. We assume that if people know the rule, they're going to follow the rule. But behavior is influenced by far more than knowledge. It's influenced by time pressure, product expectations, peer norms, supervisor modeling, equipment design, fatigue, incentives. If the system around the employee pushes towards risk, no amount of information will override that consistently. If production rewards speed and ignores shortcuts, training won't fix it. If supervisors tolerate small deviations, training won't fix it. If PPE is uncomfortable or impractical, training won't fix it. Because you're trying to solve a system problem with an information tool. That mismatch is why training feels ineffective. When training is being used as a Band-Aid. Now be honest for a moment. How many times has this happened? An incident occurs. Leadership asks, what are we going to do about it? And the quickest, most visible answer is, we're conducting retraining. It feels decisive, it feels documentable, and it does show action. Sometimes retraining is just a visible response, not a meaningful one. If someone's bypassed a guard because the machine jams consistently, retraining them on don't bypass the guard does not fix the jam. If someone rushed the lift because they were understaffed, retraining them on proper lifting techniques doesn't fix the staffing. If someone skipped the lockout because downtime is punished, retraining them on lockout doesn't fix the culture. So the real question becomes, are we retraining because it's the right solution or because it's the easiest one? Diagnosing why training isn't working at all. If you suspect training isn't effective, don't immediately redesign slides. Diagnose first. Ask, number one, Was the training relevant to the actual job conditions? Number 2, did it reflect real pressure employees face? Number 3, was it interactive or passive? Number 4, were supervisors aligned with the expectations? And number 5, was behavior reinforced after the training? Because here's something critical. Training without reinforcement, it fades quickly. Studies across industries show that retention drops significantly within days if material isn't applied. So if employees attend a session and then return to any unchanged environment, the environment will win every time, which means your real lever isn't just better training, it's better reinforcement. Shift from event-based training to embedded learning. Safety training is event-based. Annual training, quarterly refreshers, monthly toolbox talks. But behavior change happens through repetition and context. Instead of asking, when is the next training session, ask, how is this expectation reinforced daily? For example, if proper PPE use is critical, are supervisors correcting in real time? Are peers modeling it? Are leaders wearing it consistently? Is non-compliance addressed immediately and fairly? If not, a yearly refresher won't carry the weight. The most effective safety culture doesn't rely on the events. They rely on embedded habits. Training should introduce expectations. Supervisors and leadership should normalize them. Involve supervisors or expect failure. Here's the blunt truth. If supervisors are not aligned, your training will not stick. Frontline leaders shape daily behaviors more than any safety department ever will. If they ignore minor violations, send mixed messages about speed versus safety, roll their eyes during training, treat safety as quote unquote your department, then employees will follow their lead, not your slides. Before launching your next major training initiative, ask, have supervisors bought in on what I'm approaching them with? Not just verbally, but behaviorally. Have they been coached on how to reinforce expectations? Have they been given clear accountability? Do they understand why the training matters operationally? If not, fix that first, because without leadership alignment, training becomes background noise. Make training scenario-based, not policy-based. One of the biggest improvements you can make is this. Stop centering training around policies. Start centering it around scenarios. Instead of, here's the lockout procedure, try, you're halfway through a shift, maintenance is delayed, production is behind, a jam occurs. Walk me through what you would do. Now you're engaging decision-making, you're addressing real-world tension, you're allowing discussion. Adults learn better when they see relevance and are allowed to problem solve. If your training consists entirely of reading bullet points, they already exist in a handbook, then don't be surprised when nothing changes. Information transfer is not engaged. Engagement is what builds retention. Evaluate the environment, not just the employee. If unsafe behaviors continue after training, examine the environment. Is the equipment poorly designed? Are procedures overly complicated? Is staffing unrealistic? Are tools inaccessible? Is lighting inadequate? Is housekeeping inconsistent? Humans adapt to friction by finding shortcuts. If the safe way is significantly harder than the unsafe way, behavior, it's going to drift towards the unsafe way. That's not a character flaw, that's human nature. So instead of asking, why aren't they following the training, ask, what in the system makes the unsafe choice easier? That question will produce better solutions than another slide deck ever will. Stop measuring training by attendance. If your success metric is 100% trained, you're measuring exposure, not impact. Better metrics might include observed behavior improvements, reduction in specific at-risk acts, supervisor engagement levels, near-miss reporting increases, time between corrective actions and resolutions. Training is only successful if behavior shifts. So measure behavior, conduct observations, and have coaching conversations. Track real-world applications. If you don't measure impact, you won't know whether your training strategy is working or just filling calendars. Consider whether trust is the real issue. Here's something that doesn't get discussed enough. Sometimes training fails because employees don't trust the messenger. If safety is seen as punitive, if investigation feels like blame sessions, if reporting leads to discipline instead of improvement, then training feels performative. People comply during sessions, but then revert afterward because culture determines application. If you want training to work, the environment must feel psychologically safe. Employees must believe that reporting won't backfire. Questions are welcomed. Mistakes are analyzed, not weaponized. Without trust, training becomes a box check exercise. With trust, it becomes a shared standard. When retraining is actually appropriate. Now let's be clear. Sometimes retraining is definitely appropriate. If procedures changed, if skill gap is obvious, if new equipment is introduced, if regulations require certification renewal. But retraining should be targeted and specific, not automatic. And it should answer, what exactly was misunderstood? And if you can't articulate the specific knowledge gap, you're probably addressing the wrong issue. Effective retraining is surgical. Ineffective retraining is blanket. A practical reset plan. If you suspect your training program isn't driving results, here's a reset approach. Step 1, identify one reoccurring issue. Not everything, just one. Step 2, stop defaulting to retraining. Investigate the environment, supervisory, and system factors first. Step 3, involve frontline employees in solutions. Ask them what makes the safe way difficult. Step 4, adjust the system. Engineering, workflow, staffing, equipment, incentives. Adjust everything. Step 5, reinforce through supervisors daily. Coaching over lecturing. And step 6, measure behavior, not attendance. Then evaluate. Did the issue decrease? If yes, you improve the system. If no, then refine further. Training, it's not useless, but it is overused. It is a tool, not a cure. When training isn't working, it's usually a signal that something deeper in the system needs attention, a signal that leadership alignment is off, a signal that environmental design is flawed, a signal that culture hasn't caught up. The real maturity in safety leadership is recognizing when information isn't the answer and having the courage to address the harder things. Supervisory accountability, operational pressures, process design, and cultural norms. Because the goal isn't to prove we train. The goal is to prevent the next injury. And if training alone isn't accomplishing that, now you know what to look at next. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Safety isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the people we choose to protect every single day. If today's episode challenged your thinking, encouraged you, or simply made you pause and reflect, that means the conversation is working. Safety on Purpose exists to help leaders and safety professionals move beyond compliance and build trust rooted in accountability and care. If you found value in this episode, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, and consider sharing it with someone who leads people or influences culture. New episodes of Safety on Purpose are released bi-weekly with bonus content throughout the year designed to equip, challenge, and inspire the next generation of safety leaders. And remember, safety doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. I'm Joe Garcia. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.